I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I find that when I am having a tough time with my mental health, I just don't have the resources to keep going with my weight loss goals. I've been trying to use minimums, but when I'm having a bad episode, even my minimums are too hard. Tracking, drinking water. Any advice for how I can keep myself from gaining weight when my brain isn't telling me the truth about the world? All right, so this is a really difficult thing. I have personally worked with many people who struggle with actually clinical depression, and I have seen firsthand how that truly can rock somebody's life, completely. And what I would encourage you to do, I'm posting an article here, Lauren, if you could share it. It says, I need to treat my severe depression before I could lose weight. What I would suggest is if you're somebody who is dealing with extreme depression, if you really are struggling with this, my encouragement to you would, before you even worry about weight loss, it would be to get that under control, to get the low lows as much under control as you can, whether that be through medication or if it's some kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever it is, because the truth is when you're in that really, really dark place, it takes a lot to just get you to go through the basic things of brushing teeth and getting yourself dressed and doing those things. And so to expect that you're going to be also doing weight loss requirements is, I think, expecting a lot. And I don't think that's realistic. So I would say first, number one is get the depression treated officially. If it doesn't go well and the medication you are given or the treatment path you are put on is not giving you what you need, then I would keep going back. I wouldn't stop. That would be my number one thing. You know, I've talked many times about the hierarchy of importance, right? I am not a doctor, nurse, medical professional, therapist, counselor, personal trainer. I am just speaking from if it was my child or if it was me, I would become the biggest advocate for my mental health, and getting help would be my number one focus. Once I could get myself balanced a little bit, and you still may have lows and they may come up periodically, but it really would depend on how much it is. Now, I had a client, she would do great maybe 2 to 3 weeks out of the month. She would be super excited. She was great about hitting her goals. And she would usually about once a month have an extreme hit of depression. And it was just keeping her head above water. So when we structured her weight loss, it was, let's take advantage of the 2 to 3 weeks you have. And let's not worry about that fourth week. If you're somebody who's being hit with it multiple times a week, that's a totally different scenario. So figuring out your pattern for this would be my next thing. So once you're focusing on getting treatment, the next thing would be, how often is this actually happening? Like if I go through my journal or if I go through my calendar, is this happening once a month? Is it happening once a week? Like how often is it happening? Because what you might want to do is just kind of figure into this whole process. It might take you a little bit longer because maybe you can do 2 to 3 solid weeks of a deficit, but then 1 week is you just trying to maintain your stamina or just trying not to overly eat to where you might be gaining. The next thing that I would encourage you to do, I did a little bit of research, and the number one thing, which I know is not probably what, when you're in that mode is not what you're thinking to do or what you want to hear to do, is that exercise is one of the first things that most people recommend, whether it be just walking or just getting outside. Like moving your body is one of the few things I saw consistently that people said, when I do this, I feel better. And I had my client that struggled with the depression actually make herself a jar with little pieces of paper in it. And she said, because what she couldn't think in the moment when the depression hit her, she couldn't think of what it was she needed to do. Like her brain completely turned off from any positive, healthy things that would make her feel better. So in this jar, we filled it with those kinds of things. We would take a 5-minute walk with your dog, call up a friend, invite your friend out for, to come over for lunch or whatever. It was all these very direct things that she could do during that time. And all she had to do was pull a slip of paper out of the jar. That was what we focused on, just to help her mitigate that week as much as she could, to minimize the amount of struggle she was going to face. So that is kind of how I would encourage you to think about it. 1, that getting diagnosed, getting treatment. 2, figuring out how often this is actually disrupting you with your weight loss, getting hopefully some kind of an idea so you can figure out how to play your positive times up and make progress, and then scoot through the times where you're struggling. See if there is some way that you can make a routine exercise habit part of your routine, and then structuring yourself to have those kind of positive things set up to where when you do fall into that position, you've got things there to help support you. And it might even mean telling a friend ahead of time, or somebody who can help you ahead of time, hey, I'm really struggling with depression. I'm actually getting treatment for it, but there's usually a week out of the month where I'm really hit hard. I would really love it if you could text me like every Monday and just check in with me, say, hey, how's things going? Check in with me. And that way they know when you're in that dark place, and maybe they can make a special point of coming over and even just walking with you for 5 minutes, right? But it means proactively setting that up and saying to your friend or neighbor or whoever you're going to kind of reel into this, that you really need help. And when you're in that place, you don't think to ask for help. So if they could be checking in with you maybe every Monday, Wednesday, Friday via text or whatever, and if they don't hear from you, to assume that you're probably in that space, and pop on in and encourage me to go for a walk, because that's probably one of the few things that's going to really help you in that mode. So I just want to share those ideas with you, and I hope that that helps.